I'm Anitra Terrell, owner of Reflection Design, Afro-modern home decor. And I'm passionate about telling the stories of how we express joy at home using the art and textiles of our roots. So join me as I take a closer look at the lives and homes of men and women across the African diaspora. This is how we live. Hi, I'm Anitra Terrell with ReflectionDesign.com, and this is How We Live, the show that celebrates the lives and homes of people across the African diaspora. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Jewel Pearson, a North Carolina-based tiny house designer, advocate, and consultant. In this episode, you'll learn the benefits of living the tiny house lifestyle and how to decorate big in a tiny home. Plus, you'll get some decorating tips you can incorporate today. So, let's get into it. Let's get right into it. Jewel, tell us about yourself and your home.
My name is Jewel Pearson. I am known as Miss Bohemian Soul across the socials. I live in a tiny house on wheels. I have lived in my home for a little over 9 years now. My home originally was 270 something square feet. I have since expanded it, so it's just right up on around 460, 475. As I've added what I call a tiny house remix, and I've added a sunroom space and a screened-in porch.
And one of the things that I love about your home is that African decor is front and center. Walk us through your home. Well, first tell us why you chose African decor and walk us through some of the special pieces and items that are in your home.
I chose that decor because it represents who I am. It is the energy that is who I am. It's the energy I wanted to surround myself with. It is so many of the pieces that I have in my home are pieces that I've had for many, many years from my traditional home spaces. And so they make home for me. So I wanted to be sure that I included them in my tiny home so that it would still be home. And for example, my favorite piece, Mandela, is a statue that stands at my front door. And I have had Mandela since about 1998, and he's always been at my front door. And so when I was designing my tiny house, that was, just in the initial design, he was always included in, I must have a space for Mandela. So that's one of my main key pieces. That's part of my home. That's part of my family. I have a lot of African masks. Again, I've had them for a very long time. And again, they are just part of what makes home for me, what makes the space comfortable, the pieces that center me, because they are always surrounding me, and they've always been surrounding me over the years. A lot of beautiful cloths as part of my design. Things just sprinkled throughout a lot of my baskets and the things that I use for my plants are just so much of the decor, but a lot of the cloth to kind of pull my design together, but not matchy. Just I kind of think of my home personally as my personal museum. Like, as I look at pieces, and pieces remind me of places, or if they were gifted, of gifts or times. I feel like my home is that for me, and the decor is that.
Now, you mentioned that your home is a little under 500 square feet. So let's circle back to that, because most people are like, wait a minute, what? Tiny home, but you have all of these masks and art and decor. Why did you decide to go tiny? And did you have to let a lot of things go in order to still create a home that feels like home, but knowing that space is limited? How did you negotiate that?
So some would say my house is larger than a tiny house. So there's some theory, there's some theories that a tiny house should be under 300 feet. No, under 400 square feet. Some say under 500. So I'm kind of right there in the middle. The add-on, the sunroom space is not actually on wheels. It is actually on piers, on like a foundation. So that is what kind of bumped my space up. So I was fortunate enough to just have a downsizing process over the course of about 10 years. I started downsizing as my daughter went to undergrad. Because living smaller had always been my plan. Initially, I had seen it as I was going to live in an RV. And so after she went to undergrad, we had a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, and I sold that house and just gradually started downsizing to ultimately living in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, which is what I lived in right before I began designing and planning to build my tiny house. So over the course of those 10 years, I had just pared down to my favorite things. I still had some stuff in storage, but I had really gotten down from that 4-bedroom, 3-bath home to the 1-bedroom, 1-bath, and just to some of the favorite things that for me represented home. Some of the things I had gifted to friends, some of the things that I had given away. But I, for the most part, was down to my core things. And for me, the way that I decided how I was downsizing was really just what I was saying about my favorite things, the things that I knew if I didn't have in my tiny house it would not be home. And so, even with the 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, I had recently, the 10 years ago, I had gone through a divorce and had kind of redesigned my home, repurchased things based on kind of divorced me. So the things that I purchased at that point, really, there was a lot of intention that went into it. And so those were the things that I'd had and was downsizing. So there was still a lot of intention that went into how do I decide the things that remain with me as I continue this downsizing process.
Now, speaking of downsizing and letting go of things, people are often hesitant to go tiny because of that thought. They think, well, I have to give away so much, or I have to get rid of so much, or how can I not live with all the things? I'm really interested in, and I'm sure our viewers are too, what have you gained as a result of going tiny?
So I never say that I'm a minimalist. Of course, I have downsized a lot, but I'm not a minimalist. I have a lot less things, but I have my favorite things, and I don't feel like I'm missing anything. And so I say that first. Like I'm not. There's some theories out there, like you just counting the number of things that you have and kind of the bare minimums, and that's not the way I've gone tiny. I still feel like you need to have the things in the home that represent you and represent home. But the things that I've gained from it is it's a lighter lifestyle when I describe what this is like. So it's stuff can sometimes be heavy. Like people don't recognize that you collect things over the course of time, and that can be furniture, that can be papers, like just in a home you end up collecting a lot of stuff and you don't even really recognize how that becomes a lot, and it becomes weight. And so there's some lightness in the downsizing process. And then there was also I would say a mind shift for me through this process, in that as I've downsized and as I've lived in my home for these 9+ years, as I don't shop like I used to shop. So if I'm shopping for something, sometimes I'm thinking about getting rid of something, like bringing something in and taking something out. Or as I shop for things, I'm willing to spend more money on something so that it is maybe more high quality, so that I'll know it will last for many years, so that I can have that thing. I'm willing to pay more for it because it will last for a long time. And so, I think about that as clothes. Like I've got heels that I've had probably the entire time that I've lived in my home, but I invested in them because they were quality shoes. And, and then I decided, okay, I want two more colors of these shoes because they're nice and they're timeless. And so I still have them. So there's that mind shift of how I like kind of my footprint of how I pay attention to the way I live and the things that I bring in. And it, even for travel, I have always been like the big suitcase person. Sometimes the big suitcase person who is going to get that sticker that on the suitcase that said heavy. And now I can travel for a week or more with just a backpack because I'm now able to kind of navigate, what that looks like and how I coordinate my clothes so that I can, and it's again, it's freeing. Like it's, it is an opportunity to move nimbly, I guess maybe is the word that I'd say. Like I can make some moves and do some things quicker because I don't have a lot to weigh me down or hold me back, I guess is a better way to say it. So I've gained a lot in peace and an intention of in an intentional lifestyle, I guess is probably the best way I would explain that.
Now that's a metaphor for life, just being able to move through life nimbly and without that weight or that heaviness. The Erykah Badu song "Bag Lady" comes to mind.
Pack, yeah, pack
pack
light,
light,
absolutely,
right?
yes,
You can't hurry up because you got
absolutely,
too much stuff.
right,
Think about it, y'all. Think about it, y'all.
absolutely, and that's real. Like that's really that's the real reality of the way this. And I didn't go into this lifestyle like thinking about that, but it has kind of transformed me in the process.
Now, to be clear, you built your home. You did
I
not
did.
buy a pre-made tiny home.
No,
Knowing what you
I
know now, would you have done the same thing? Would you have built or would you have bought a pre-made tiny home, and why?
absolutely would not have bought a pre-made. I would have gone through the same process of designing my home. Like I researched for almost 2 years prior to designing and then building my home. And I have shared that I feel like that is the reason that I have been successful in my home. Why, it is still home and I'm still really extremely pleased with my home, headed into 10 years of tiny house living because my home was designed for me. Like the effort that went into my house, and I kind of tell when I am offering consultations to people, I had three thoughts of how of designing my house, the things that I knew I had to have, the nice to haves, and the wish list items, and I paid a lot of attention up front into how I used my big spaces, like where was I spending my time and what did that look like, and making sure I had those spaces represented in my tiny house. And knowing myself as far as like light, I have a lot of windows because I need to have light. I wasn't exactly sure where I would place my home. And so that is me designing my home for me has been my success factor. So I would absolutely do the same thing. And I encourage others to, if you have the opportunity to design your home, or at least know the things that you have to have in a home, even if you're buying, a pre-made home, making sure that the things that make home for you, the things that you need to have in a home are represented in what you're buying.
Hmm. And you have a YouTube channel as well, Miss
I
Bohemian
do.
Soul, and we will add all of Jewel's links in the description so you can check out her channel. It is fantastic. Why did you decide
Thank
to
you.
start a YouTube channel, and what's been the outcome or the result of that?
So having been in this movement, um, getting started in the movement early on, the demographics, I think the demographics say the movement is 97, 96 or 98% white. When I first got in the movement, what I thought we were doing was challenging the status quo of housing.
Mm,
As we pushed municipalities, government officials to accept tiny houses on wheels. I thought the intent was to also push against the status quo of housing. And what that looks like is Black and brown communities, like in traditional housing, if you look at the home ownership year after year, the Black and brown Black community remains at the bottom of the list year after year for achieving home ownership. The unhoused, the problem for the unhoused, not having housing. So I thought as we're pushing to get tiny houses accepted, we're also going to make sure the people who need housing the most are represented in this conversation. And what I realized is that was not the case, that they were pushing for acceptance for tiny houses, but it was more of, we don't want to be associated with the unhoused because there's a negative connotation there. So we want to get tiny houses on wheels accepted, and then we'll go back and get those people. We'll go back and get those people. And that sounds just like what I already know for the Black community. You ain't never coming back. That ain't happening. So
Right.
I was pushing and pushing and pushing. And the more I pushed, the more resistance I received, to the point of being threatened as I was calling them out on the nonsense. And then I realized that I didn't need to keep pushing. Like, I don't want to, if you all don't want to listen, I don't want to keep pushing. I want to build the tables over here, and I want to have the conversations to the people who are interested in listening. And I want to represent the people who are missing from this conversation. And I want to, as I was sharing with that community, that, one of the things, the main challenge there are two big challenges for tiny houses on wheels: where you're going to put one, because of the legality issues, and also the financing piece of it. And those are the two things that keep most people out of tiny houses. And then the where you're going to put it becomes more of an issue for Black people, because the places that are more accepting for tiny houses on wheels are like RV parks in rural areas. And those aren't safe spaces for us. And I've had to move my home twice because of issues with racism. And so if you all aren't willing to have those conversations, and you're not willing to talk about the challenges that we're facing to also try to be in this movement, I can't continue to push up against those conversations. So I'm going to go over here and build these tables to have those conversations and to represent our challenges, and to help us. Part of also why I share my home is because I want people to see the opportunity. Like, a tiny house doesn't have to be, as I always say, Laura Ingalls' Little House on the Prairie style, where, it's all work, and it's this box, and it's chores, and it's hardship. Like, I want people to see that a tiny house can represent luxury, and I want us, and especially our community, to see the opportunities for wealth building and getting to home ownership quicker, and to see that people who live in tiny houses, for the most part, I think I'm normal. If somebody normal like me, I just want to live in a small space. And so that was the development of my channel, to have those conversations, and to talk to people, to interview people in and around the tiny house movement, so people could see other people who are also involved in this movement, and begin to think outside of the box. So not everybody is a tiny house dweller. Some of the people have RV parks. Some of them live in vans. Some of them, they're in around the tiny house space. Some of them have tiny houses as Airbnbs, and so they're making money. Some of them, there's a lot of things that are happening around the tiny house movement, and businesses, mobile businesses. And so people can see opportunity. Like, if you're not interested in being a tiny house dweller, these are some of the things that you might be interested in that will bring in income, or these are the ways that you maybe could support someone who's interested in the tiny house movement. And so that was the creation of my channel, so that, and as I say, so I can serve up representation, because I want us to see ourselves in this movement. I want us to be able to talk about the issues and concerns that we're having, to be in this movement that's not being talked about by the other 97-98%, whatever that number is. And the result has been beautiful. My community is growing. It is such a warm community. It has really surprised me because I sometimes feel like I don't really have content to present. And then I've realized that sometimes they just want to be in community, and we talk about, things, and that's okay with the community. So I am really, really pleased with the results of so far, and I just want to continue to grow the channel for sure.
Now, Reflection Design, our mantra is see yourself at home. Jewel, how does your home reflect who you are, and how do you feel in your home, and how do you want others to feel when they come to your home?
And I think you can see over my shoulder. Can you see it?
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah, yes. My home is like an extension of me. It is my sanctuary. Oftentimes I actually even say thank you to my home. Like, there's a peace that I have when I walk into my house, or when I've traveled and I come back home and I've missed my home. It is my sanctuary. It is my place of peace. It is a place of healing. Like, there is, I'm very cautious about who I invite in my home. The energy that I allow in my home. And so I think when people see my home, I just want them to see a representation of me, of peacefulness. I think the peacefulness, the energy of who I am, the energy of of the representation of my, just kind of like the ancestral representation. I just want people to see it as the sanctuary. I think, in this place of for me, it's almost also a place of healing. Like, it soothes my soul to be in my home. Um, and I think you asked me another part of a question, and I think I've forgotten it. Sorry.
How do you, when you do have guests over, how do you want them to feel in your home?
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I missed it. I want them to feel that energy. I want them to, um, just overall, from the visuals, the smell, just the energy of being in my home. I want them to feel that, this space was created with love. Like, there's a lot of love that has gone um into the design of my home, the initial design of my home, and into the decor. And every piece that is in my home represents something of importance to me. And I want people to feel that same energy when they walk into my home. And I want it to encourage them, if they don't feel that same energy in their space, to go make that, because this is what home should feel like.
Right.
And I recognize that not everybody has that in their home. They're just living in a space. But this for me is a place of sanctuary and healing. And I would want others to try to seek that as well for themselves.
I love that. Now let's get into our lightning round. Jewel, I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I want you to give me the first answer that comes to mind.
Okay.
What's one book, coffee table book, design or not, that you would recommend?
So I actually have two. One is going to be in existence. The coffee table book that I am in the process of writing. When that happens, that's going to be that's one.
Okay.
So
Yes,
that
yes,
one.
yes. Speak it into
And then
existence.
absolutely, I'm working on it. And then my second one is the Brown Bohemians. It is artful, and it's just a gorgeous book, and I love. It's not design related, but it's just a gorgeous coffee table book that I love and have in my home.
What's one thing that is a must-have for you in your home since you've been tiny?
A must have. I would probably say my windows.
Mm-hmm.
I think my
Okay. Okay.
windows.
You're having a dinner party. What 3 people would you invite?
I'd invite. Can they? Can the, anybody like dead or alive?
Anybody. Dead or alive?
Anybody? Okay. Okay. So I would invite my father. My father has been deceased since
Mm-hmm.
I was 2. So I'd invite my father, and then I'd invite my mother because I would like to for them to I'd like to see them together as a couple to get to know that energy. And then my
Mm.
third person, I think I would invite President Obama. I just adore him and would like to. And something, so he and my father share the same birthday, even though my father was older than him. And the look,
Mm.
something about him also reminds me of my father. So I think I would like to have the 3 of them at my dinner party. Sorry, Michelle.
If-
I only got 3 people.
well, I think in that case we can allow a +1.
Okay, thank you.
If your home had a theme song, what would it be?
Uh, theme. Oh, wow, that's a good one. A theme song. Oh, I think my theme song that I really love, and I don't know what is Bulletproof Soul. Bulletproof Soul. Shout out Bulletproof Soul. Yes, you're gonna need a bulletproof soul. And she says, I came in like a lamb, but I intend to leave like a lion. That for me. It's just something about that line, like that, and that it came to my mind first. I feel like that has to be my theme song. I am on all the socials. I am on Facebook, IG, and YouTube as Miss Bohemian Soul. So I can be found all the places.
And again, I will make sure all of Jewel's links are in the description so you can follow along and join and support. This is a great conversation, Jewel. I appreciate you so much. Thank you
I
for
thank
joining me
you.
today.
No, it's been a long time coming. So thank you. Thank you for your patience with me. And thank you for having me.
And thank you, everyone, for watching. This is how we live.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And to add more style and culture to your home, shop reflectiondesign.com.